Hello, and welcome to the Big Winter Conference 2023. My name is Hugh Shepard, and today I'm doing a brief talk on the topic of security strategies for critical and smart infrastructures. Before we get started, just want to walk through the agenda on the topics that I'm going to cover this morning during our discussion. First, I'm going to do a quick brief brief intro of myself, and then identify the attended audience and expected outcomes for the talk, and then do a quick overview of what's going to be the primary focus of the discussion, and then actually jump into the presentation itself. Then do a quick summary of the key points and takeaways. And then I'm going to walk through some of my planned next steps for this work that I'm doing, this research, and provide you all with a few references and resources that I may think are helpful if you're interested in the topic itself. And also, just want to say, I originally had planned to do this as a live presentation. However, due to some unexpected travel, I decided it was best to record this session. So the open forum and QA will actually be this opportunity for you to follow up with me via email, LinkedIn, or direct message on Discord if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. So look for that later on in this presentation. I'll provide that contact info for you. And again, speaker introduction. Again, I'm Hugh Shepard. I'm the founder and principal consultant of the one-man consultancy firm of HSJR Global Solutions, LLC. I have over 25 years of experience in the information technology and telecommunications industries. And I've earned several degrees, including a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science, of all things, from Ohio University. And I also have a couple graduate degrees from the University of Maryland, University of Maryland Global Campus, formerly University of Maryland University College, but the name was changed recently. But anyhow, again, a couple of graduate degrees from there, one of which being a Master's of Science in Technology Management, and also 2 graduate certificates from Johns Hopkins University, one of which is in leadership development when I was taking part in the Minority Leadership Development Program at Hopkins. Also, I've earned several certifications, professional certifications, primarily in cybersecurity, one of which being the CISSP, also the CEH, Security Plus, and in ITIL and TOGAF as well. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. There's my LinkedIn profile information there, Hugh Shepard Jr. And then also you can email me directly at hugh@hsjrglobalsolutions.com. So the intended audience and expected outcomes for today, the intended audience, ranges from, most primarily cybersecurity professionals, people who are professionals within IT and OT itself, the various sectors of those industries. Also people who work in critical infrastructure, in the critical infrastructure sector, be it in energy, transportation, you name it. People who are just enthusiasts about smart technology, smart cities, and technology consultants as well, be it people at some of the larger firms or, freelancers such as myself, working pretty much on their own. and then just about anyone with an interest to learn something new. So, those are some of the intended audience groups for today. Far as the expected outcomes from today's discussion, primarily want to raise awareness on the security needs for smart and critical infrastructures, and to spark a virtual conversation and exchange of ideas on the best approach to incorporate some sound security practices and concepts into these areas. So hopefully from this discussion this morning, that will enable that those expected outcomes to be accomplished. Just a quick overview on the primary focus of the discussion this morning. Security of critical infrastructure and smart infrastructures, it's a serious concern. As more and more of these systems become networked, and are connected to the internet, the level of risk increases. And I like to say, the more connectivity, more problems. So the purpose of this talk is to raise awareness about this issue, about these concerns, and to start a discussion, and a dialogue among professionals or people who have interest in this area on possible strategies or any ideas on what can be done, what can be incorporated into this area to promote better security. So the topic of smart infrastructures and critical infrastructures are basically a personal interest of mine. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect. Excluding my previous work in the IT and telecom industries, I do not work in any critical infrastructure sectors or having billable work in this area. So this is basically like a pet research project of mine, and it's I find it interesting. It kind of it's overlap with a lot of things I'm interested in as far as IT, tech, urban development. So it's kind of like a perfect match for me, as far as the topic of interest. So again, to date, just some of the activities that I have done, while researching these topics, of course, again, it's conducting some independent research. I've written several articles, on related topics, from top articles about autonomous vehicles, quantum computing, security, or securing smart cities without limiting innovation. So, I've written a couple things that relate to this as well. Attended, a few webinars here and there, virtually mostly. Well, all of them webinars. But also, I've joined several online communities, mainly through IEEE, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, the International Engineering IEEE. So through that organization, and I subscribe to a couple mailing lists that are smart city and critical infrastructure, critical infrastructure focus. So get a lot of updates, especially through CISA, the Critical Infrastructure Security Agency. They put out a lot of information and updates about vulnerabilities for OT and critical infrastructures. So, and also attended several trainings through CISA as well, Cybrary and InfoSec Institute. And I know CISA and Cybrary, they offer a lot of free trainings, especially CISA on that topic. InfoSec Institute, I'm not sure if their training or all of them are free, but they definitely have some quality content. It's worth checking out. So let's just get a little deeper into today's main topic itself. Smart cities smart and critical infrastructures. So let's begin with the definition itself of smart infrastructure. So this definition, I believe, is from, I can't remember the name of the book, but I noted it here. It's smart infrastructure is defined as infrastructure that is enhanced in its function or efficiency through the use of information and communication technology, also known as ICT. Furthermore, it includes the use of sensors and smart grid technologies to facilitate smart infrastructure, such as, for water, energy networks, streetlights, buildings, et cetera, you name it. So both of those are pretty much verbatim from the two sources that I mentioned, but it definitely sums up and defines smart infrastructure very well. And so just some common attributes of smart infrastructures are they are connected, they're efficient, they're intelligent and resilient, integrated, automated, data-driven, which is important, and sustainable, which is key and also one of the ultimate goals. And going a little further, for some examples of smart infrastructure systems and deployments, we have smart grids and smart power distribution, e-mobility, which is the infrastructure related to sustaining and maintaining like the electric vehicles, and smart buildings themselves. So, think of, in its kind of simplest form, a smart building would be like the house that uses the connected door lock, the door thermostat, the refrigerator that orders juice when it's low. But that's more on the home level. But then there's smart buildings themselves being like office buildings, larger complexes, et cetera. And so as we continue, let's go ahead and define what is a critical infrastructure. So again, I think some of the best definitions were already written here, so I just wanted to make note of them. I think one came from Palo Alto Networks, and another one I think was through CISA as well. But anyhow, critical infrastructure includes all of the assets, systems, and networks, physical and virtual, that are essential to the proper functioning of a society's economy, national public health, or safety and security. And then furthermore, their incapacitation or destruction would have a debilitating effect on that community or that society. So that's very important to make note of. And so I have several examples here. I believe I've listed 10 of the critical infrastructure sectors as defined by CISA. I think altogether total it's 16, but I've just listed 10 here. It includes dams, the financial sector, chemical, manufacturing, healthcare and public health, communications, food and agriculture, nuclear energy, and commercial facilities. And so just to kind of relate it more so to like maybe everyday or something that's more relatable to the average person, critical infrastructure would include like your emergency services, like your ambulances or paramedics, your firemen, your fire departments, and police as well. And then also like your transportation systems, be it like your subways or your metro systems, that many cities have and many people rely on to get around. And then of course, there's your water and wastewater treatment facilities. That's also included within the critical infrastructure sector. So from my research, what I'm seeing is there's a convergence that's happening in these areas. Using this simple diagram that I put together to kind of represent the point I'm trying to make is go a little deeper. You'll see that critical infrastructure systems, which are normally OT or operational technology based, are primarily systems or devices used to manage physical equipment. They are starting to be more networked more often or be internet facing. While on the other side, we have your smart infrastructure, which by default means it's connected. It has connectivity through IT or information technology. What's happening? There's a convergence between these two areas, which basically enables the emergence of smart cities and smart communities. So that's what I'm trying to represent here, and that's what I would like to see, or that's what I'm seeing from what I'm reading. You do the research and look and see what's happening, which is fine, and that's good, and it makes sense. But let me just read a couple points here from my slide, and I'll go a little bit deeper. But as far as critical infrastructure, it provides the essential services and assets necessary for communities to survive and thrive. While on the other hand, with your smart infrastructures, it provides the underlying technology that enables innovation and digital transformation of our cities and communities. So again, smart infrastructure being IT driven, critical infrastructure being traditionally OT driven, but where there's the intersect and convergence is happening, which leads to your smart cities and smart communities with these services and connectivity, which is more IoT driven, which is more reliant on data and collecting information in order to make sure the certain services, which may be out of the critical infrastructure, are delivered more efficiently. People have a say, a little bit more active participation in their communities, that sort of thing. So the concept is great, and the potential is immense, but, we're going to see that, that there are some problems and there are some concerns with this amount of data and amount of connectivity being available. So again, that leads into the challenges. So again, like I said, even though the potential from the convergence of smart and critical infrastructures is immense, it's not without some serious challenges. For example, there's complex cybersecurity needs related to these areas. Again, the more connectivity, more problems thing. And then there's always the people factor, which is pretty much common across the board when it comes to IT and cybersecurity. And then there's the physical security aspects. The main thing being, or one of the areas of concern being, with IoT devices, they're easily deployed, and they're usually small, or you wouldn't even notice it's actually an IoT device, like the connected coffee pot. Like, who would know that the coffee pot, which is connected to the internet, presents a vulnerability to the office, wherever it's networked, wherever it's connected to and has access to the internet. And then, each situation is unique, especially in regards to a city. No two cities are the same, or, maybe similar, but they're definitely unique in certain ways, even if it's just the population itself and their desires and their wants, as far as, say, IoT service, smart city services. So, that presents a challenge because it becomes a point where there's no really cookie cutter standard deployment or approach that can be used. And then also another challenge is the data protection and privacy issues. So insufficient data protection controls. Again, for example, the IoT devices, which are, again, normally small, or not without a lot of processing or storage power, or security controls embedded. It's collecting all this data. It could be sniffed. It could be, just, someone can access that device, a malicious individual, and download it or intercept it somehow. And then it comes down to the whole privacy concerns that are, being more and more, becoming more and more of an issue. How much data is too much data? A lot of people are concerned about losing their privacy, or these companies and services just probing or having too much information about them. And then there's a lack of knowledge and training on the topic of privacy and privacy protection itself. Not that it's new, but I think we're entering a phase where, people understand the amount of data that is being collected, and, and like how should it be properly stored, or decommissioned, not decommissioned, but, deleted, and so it's just not a lot of, well, I won't say not a lot, but there's definitely a need for maybe better awareness, better knowledge, better training on the topic itself. And then there's the interoperability of these systems, especially when it comes to your critical infrastructure systems and, some of these older traditional services, be it like in the energy sector or wastewater, or even in telecommunications. So, there's a lot of siloed and isolated systems, especially even within cities themselves. Does park and recreations, do they talk to, I don't know, the transportation department within the city? Are they sharing data, or are they operating in two different conflicting models when it comes to, security or data protection? And, who knows? That's a concern. And then there's always the concern of legacy and outdated systems. I will not name names or whatever, but I've been in situations, at previous employers, where there's a device that's live on the network, and no one really knows what it's connected to, what it actually does. They just know, or they don't know if we decommission it, what problems will it cause downstream. So just kind of leave it up and running, and so is it being maintained properly? Is it being patched? How outdated is it? So that's a problem. And then, and that kind of leads into the next concern: lack of knowledge of all assets. So, again, my previous example of the piece of equipment that no one really knows what it does and what it's for. And also, again, the example about the IoT devices being easily deployed and maintaining a database of your assets may be kind of challenging, So those are some of the challenges being faced. And also contributing to the challenges are the kind of differing and conflicting priorities within the IT and OT world. This is, where was this from? I made note of the article, but it was noted in the convergence of IT and OT and critical infrastructure. So this table, pretty much word for word, but I'll walk through it. So, when it comes to the focus on what's being protected in IT, the concern is protecting the data. Within OT, it's protecting the assets, be it the water, be it the electricity, be it the pumping station, be it the generator, power generations, or the transformers. That's the concern, not necessarily the data, or any related data to these assets. And again, in regards to the CIA triad, from cybersecurity, there's definitely, it's flipped backwards. So, in IT, it goes the concern from the primary concern is confidentiality, then integrity, and then the availability. However, within OT, again, providing services to a community or to the public, it's the availability of that service, be it the power, be it the water, be it the transportation, or the emergency services, and then the integrity related to those services, and then the confidentiality, third, not as important. And then the patching frequency, there's probably room for improvement, and definitely for improvement in all of the, or for both sectors. But in IT, patching, the frequency is usually high or higher, and most IT based operations, use an IT service management type approach where there's a process for deploying patches. Be it, get the patch, you test it in a test bed, and then, once you figure out, determine it's not going to pose any issues, then you deploy it to the production or live environment. Now, within OT, patching frequency is low, sometimes extremely low, like years low, far as the frequency. So, within OT, a lot of environment, there is an opportunity to have a test bed, or test it out, or have an environment that mimics the actual production environment. It's quite often it's putting that patch, applying that patch into the production environment itself. And then also the challenge within OT with the patching is, there's no safe hours. There's no window of when the system's offline, like say maybe within IT, like, okay, they're gonna patching is done off hours, Mondays and Tuesdays or something like that. But excuse me, within the world of OT, that's not necessarily the case. And then the operating systems used, within IT, it's usually a standardized OS, OT proprietary. And again, with protocols, IT, it's standardized, and then OT, it's proprietary normally. And so that, again, just contributes to the challenges that are faced when it comes to security, or incorporating security concepts into these areas. So just going a little deeper into the concerns, well, I was going to say, I'll say, just think about those previous challenges that I mentioned in mind. There are a lot of reasons for concern that really must be addressed. And, I've taken several direct quotes here from various sources that I thought were very meaningful and thought provoking for this talk. And I will go ahead and just read them quickly, maybe one or two. So in this first quote here in the upper left, according to research by the International Data Corporation, or IDC, over 41 billion IoT devices across businesses and business and consumer environments are projected to be online by 2025, thus creating numerous entry points for attackers. So that's definitely a huge concern. That number is huge. And then Gartner projects that through 2025, 30% of critical infrastructure organizations will experience a security breach that will result in the halting of operations or mission critical service. I know I didn't read that verbatim, but basically that's the heart of what they're saying in that quote. And then per Microsoft security, 75% of the most common industrial controllers used in OT networks contain unpatched and high severity vulnerabilities. So again, that goes back to the patching frequency that I discussed on the previous slide. And again, I guess I am reading all four, but anyhow, in 2021, 80% of organizations that manage critical infrastructures suffered a cyber attack. So that is definitely concern. These are definitely concerning quotes. So what can we do? But before we discuss what can we do, Again, I'm not going to read this in detail, but I just wanted to, now that you're aware of some of the risks that I mentioned previously, I wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to take a deeper look at some of the possible vulnerabilities, threats, and consequences. So again, this is a table taken from a very good program and report from the Global City Teams Challenge 2019 on smart cities and security for smart cities. So I won't go through them all. I'll just list a couple here. So, and it's what you would normally expect, when it comes to like a critical infrastructure or smart city vulnerabilities or threats. So, again, the lack of awareness of assets being a vulnerability. And what quite often is happening, especially there was an attack related to IoT devices that were, I believe, were CCTV cameras, the use of default passwords, administrator passwords. Again, that's the people factor thing that I mentioned. So the biggest threat, or one of the more concerning threats, being terrorist groups, or the advanced persistent threats that you come in out of nation states or state-sponsored actors or hacktivists as well. And as you guessed it or can assume, the consequences are are hitting the public. It's a danger to the health and safety of the public and the community. So that is, again, things that are alarming. At least I find alarming, and I'm quite sure many of you do as well. And as far as possible attacks, and again, if you work in cybersecurity or study cybersecurity, as you can see, there's really nothing exotic, at least from what have been documented in a lot of the attacks that have occurred. You have your data thefts, your DDoS attacks, device hijacking. So like any other network device, your smart cities or critical infrastructures, are prone or susceptible to the same attacks that you hear about as far as like for private systems. So, but I will note that ransomware, especially when it comes to a lot of the critical infrastructures and cities, is definitely a problem and a big threat. So let's just keep driving on here. And speaking of which, I did highlight a few cyber attacks on critical and smart infrastructure targets, and as you can see, well, I don't have the dates listed, but, from reports, they are increasing in number, and frequency. So on this slide, I did list several organizations from various critical infrastructure sectors that have been in the news recently due to cyber attacks. So I won't go into all of them. And also, I just want to make note that, I'm not trying to expose anyone or call out these organizations. It is public knowledge. The attacks that occurred at these organizations was documented in the news. So it's public knowledge. But there was one attack that I found quite concerning, and that was the Oldsmar water treatment facility cyber attack in Florida in 2021. So basically, the attacker tried to poison the people of Oldsmar, Florida, by hacking into the system at the water treatment facility and raising the level of the chemical sodium hydroxide, which is lye, to a dangerous level for human consumption, which could cause someone to be sick or possibly die. If it wasn't for the alert technician that was on duty, who just by chance looked at the screen of the monitor for that system and noticed that the cursor was moving by itself and had moved to the button on the screen to increase the level of the lye, the sodium hydroxide, the attack may have gone unnoticed until it was too late. So I'm not sure exactly what incident response was taken in order to mitigate that potential attack. But again, if it wasn't for that alert technician by chance looking, who knows what could have happened, So thankfully, thank God for that individual. So that brings us to a call to action in this area. and what can be done or what has been done, or what is being done to help increase security, raise awareness in this area. So I've listed several noteworthy developments that have happened recently. So they include the President Biden $1 trillion infrastructure bill that was signed in 2021, which included money allocated for cybersecurity, for critical infrastructure, and for improving critical infrastructure, not only just the security, but also, improving the overall technology of it as well, was included in that bill. Executive Order 14028, which was also signed by President Biden in 2021, focusing on improving U.S. cybersecurity. And then there's a organization within NIST, the Smart Connected Systems Division, or SCSD. They were recently stood up in 2021. So their goal or their focus is making sure the like your smart infrastructures and smart communities, anything connected, is that they're using proper security controls and promoting security within those areas. And then another executive order that was signed in 2013 by President Obama was for improving critical infrastructure and cybersecurity. And then a recent plan that was just published a few months ago, or maybe even a few weeks ago, is the CISA strategic plan, and which, of course, CISA, critical infrastructure society, critical infrastructure, I can't remember the acronym, but their primary focus is critical infrastructure, the agency within the United States. So that's good that their strategic plan has been put together, and I think this is their first strategic plan. So definitely check it out. It's available for public consumption. And then also CISA has a infrastructure security month that I think recently started, like maybe last year or so, which is the month of November. So keep that in mind, get on the mailing list. I'm pretty sure they'll put out some nice information, nice resources and tools during that month of November for infrastructure security. And excuse me, what other steps can be taken? So again, I kind of listed some high-level strategies or things that can be done. So, of course, improve governance and risk management, resilience. That's like through proper GRC, DR, disaster recovery, business continuity in these areas. Using better designing and planning practices. Again, not sure in all situations if they're applicable, but, incorporating DevSecOps. Ensuring security by design, not putting security on as an afterthought after, say, a system has been deployed. Also, stronger international public and private collaboration. I noted the Critical Five organization, which is 5 member nations, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the US, and United Kingdom, which they collaborate to help promote security and cyber and critical infrastructure. And then there's the promoting consistent protection and monitoring throughout the network, be it, again, possibly using, going into more a zero trust approach, or using sticks, and, using like kind of repeatable security type hardening approaches for some of these systems. And then also, attention on raising attention, awareness on training in the area. Again, that's CISA with all the training they have available, and also their critical infrastructure awareness month. I think that's a huge step. So, these are high level strategies, high level things that, can be used, but that's the nature of a strategy. It's not necessarily the step-by-step, do this, do that. It's more of kind of a guideline strategy, kind of like to lead the way and help guide people on the path to go for success. And then some of the organizations making the impact, contributing to the security in this area. Of course, there's NIST, Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and then the Idaho National Laboratory, of all places. Definitely check them out. They have I think, an critical infrastructure engineers framework, which seems interesting. I haven't had a chance to really look at it much, but definitely it's something on my to-do list to get a little bit deeper into that. And then, of course, IEEE, which I called out earlier. Not going to attempt to make the figure out what all the E's stand for, but again, IEEE, ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers, and that's an organization I recently just kind of stumbled on, but they have a lot of critical infrastructure and cybersecurity related resources on their website, and as well as the World Economic Forum, of all places. Again, have cybersecurity and critical infrastructure content on their site, and some thought leadership in that area. And then there's Siemens, as far as private companies, you have your Microsoft and Siemens. Very informative information. Of course, they're selling products related to this area, but that's good as well, because it's good to have some quality vendors providing systems and services and hardware that can help improve this area, the security in these areas. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Just give you a little bit of a summary of the key takeaways I would like you to get from this discussion, and some of my final thoughts. So there's a lot of information available out there on the internet and other places on the topic. And I find it to be quite overwhelming. A lot of times when you get hit with too much information, you kind of shut down. And also in regards to the related policies and frameworks and standards on the topic, also tons of stuff, also overwhelming. And then there's no cookie cutter or one size fits all solution or approach. So definitely going to be some customization necessary. And that's quite common, in the IT and in tech industries. You need to kind of customize things anyway for your own situation or environment. But I will say again, like most situations, simple is better, and knowing where your assets are is key, definitely key to any cybersecurity defense. And however, there is a need for this is a multidisciplinary area, and there's a need for people with expertise from a variety of different fields and industries and areas to really make this work and make it be successful. And then, unfortunately, there are some financial constraints. Again, that's with most cybersecurity programs as well. But especially in regards to cities, a lot of times cities aren't as well funded as they would like. And with these smart cities and having these services and everything brought online, having available funds is definitely an issue. Nevertheless, there's immense potential and numerous benefits in this area. Hopefully it can be harnessed and benefit us all. And awareness and interest on the topic seems to be increasing as well, which is also a good thing. Let's see. As far as my next steps or planned next steps with this research, what I would like to do, I want to continue conducting some independent research, maybe get a little bit more refined in some of the things I'm reviewing and using. Purchase some additional materials and books, especially some of the books. There's a lot of like really large textbooks on the topic. However, they seem pretty informative and worthwhile, worth checking out. Join and become more active in related organizations related to this area. Conduct interviews of people within the industry and people within these different fields. It's always good to talk to people who are actually, where the rubber meets the road, as they say, or in the trench in these areas, so that you can really get a feel of what's happening in real time in the real world. Then, possibly write some more articles or, white papers, maybe even a book, who knows? then conduct additional talks and presentations as well. This has been fun, so I wouldn't mind doing it again. With some more updated research on the topic or on a different subject as well. I've listed a few references and resources here that I think people would gain something from, would be of interest. Definitely, there are a lot more resources and references that I've used. I'm consolidating those all into one document, and we'll try to make it shareable if possible if people are interested. So, we'll see, but definitely, hopefully have that all kind of consolidated in one source or one document sometime soon. And then again, wish this was a live event, open forum for Q&A. However, it's not, it's recorded, but nevertheless, I still want to hear from you. Want to hear your comments, suggestions, or questions. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can direct message me there. Feel free to email me, Hugh at hsjrglobalsolutions.com. Or if you're within the Discord or big community, so Discord, I'm Hugh Shep, 4169. So definitely look me up, direct message me. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate your time, your interest in this topic. Hope you found it informative. And take care. Enjoy the rest of the big winter conference. And thank you.